So like I said, we're doing slope today, and then we're gonna do a little bit with graphing lines also. So that is what we're gonna be doing. So shut our MacBooks, please. All right, so I think you guys all are pretty comfortable with slope, but we're just gonna kind of review it. Slope again is defined as rise over run, okay? And then on the cheat sheet that, you guys have a cheat sheet right now, correct? I believe. On that cheat sheet, it will have the slope formula. And I'm quite certain that I did give you that. I did. If you don't have it, let me know. So the first type of question that they're gonna give you today is, they're gonna give you where you have 2 points on a graph and you have to find the slope. So first of all, F is over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up 2. So F is 6, 2. And then for G, it's back to -2 down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's -2, -5, okay? I do know some of you can find slope from a graph, but the way that the standard for this is they want you to take the 2 points and use the slope formula. So which one you write first does not matter. Okay, so let's say 6, 2 and -2, -5. Okay, and when you're doing slope, you have to subtract your y's on the top. So you're gonna go this y minus that y. So -5 minus 2. And then you're gonna subtract your x's on the bottom in that same order, okay? So this would be -2 minus 6. Now, -5 minus 2, if we just think about what that is -7, okay? And then on the bottom, -2 minus 6 is -8. If you're not good at that, like if adding and subtracting positives and negatives is hard for you, just use your calculator. Do -5 subtract 2, -2 subtract 6. Now, do you guys know what happens when you have negative divided by a negative? Positive. So this would be 7 over 8. And you don't ever change it to a decimal or to a mixed number. You leave it as a fraction. Okay? Now if you look at this, what you are going to do is label what these points are. So S is over 1, 2, 3, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it'd be -3, 7. T is left 1, down 1, so that's -1, -1. Okay, so again, how you write those down doesn't matter. So -1, -1. Okay, so when I go to do this, what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna subtract my y's on top. So I'm gonna go this one minus this one. And honestly, you guys, it doesn't matter which way you subtract that first one. Whatever way I subtract the first one, that's how I have to subtract the second one. So like if you just wanted to go off the graph and go, well, I'm gonna take this minus this on top, then you would just go this minus this on the bottom and you'd be fine, okay? So -1 subtract 7 on top, -1, and we're subtracting a -3 on the bottom. Now -1 subtract 7 is -8. Here 2 negatives in a row is plus. -1 plus 3 is 2, and that reduces down to would you know that would be like -4 or -4/1 if you wanted to write it that way? Have I ever shown you guys how to reduce a fraction on a calculator before? So if you have a graphing calculator, and let's say you got something like -28/42, and you didn't want to use, think about what that was. On a graphing calculator, you can go -28 divided by 42, and then you can go math, enter, enter. Unfortunately, the other calculators only reduce a fraction if the top number is smaller than the bottom number, but you still can do it if that's the case. Let's see here. The reason you can't if the top number is bigger is the calculator will change it to a mixed number, I believe, and then you have to do another step. I mean, it's doable, but, so if you wanted to reduce a fraction, and I don't know that they do negatives either, let me check. -28, and there's this key on these calculators, it looks like this, A, and then it has a B/C key, so that's all in one key. So you type the number in first, then you do that A/B/C key, and then you type in the bottom number, and I'm just gonna make up that it's 42. It does do it even if it's negative. When it doesn't work without doing more steps is if you had -42, hit that, and then went, did I do 28, I think? That gives me -1 and a 12. And then you either could use what you learned in elementary school to switch that to a improper fraction, or I believe you can go second that key. Yeah, and that did work. So anyway, if you don't want to reduce them there, you can use your calculator for that. All right, now let's look here. So this point right here is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this point down here is 0 and down 3, so that would be 0, -3. Okay, now on top I subtract my y's, so I'm gonna go 4, subtract a -3, and then I'm gonna subtract my x's on the bottom, 0 minus 0, okay? 2 negatives in a row become plus. 4 plus 3 is 7. 0 minus 0 is 0, okay? Now, there are times today that you're gonna get an answer that's 7/0 or some number divided by 0, and other times you're gonna get 0 divided by some number.
It's always gonna go 0.
No, actually, when the zero's on the bottom, it's going to be undefined. So if we went, say I went 7 divided by 0 on either calculator, it's gonna give you an error message. When you get that error message, that means that is not defined, okay? You cannot divide a number by 0, so what we write there then is undefined. All right? Now, if you went 7 divided by 0, okay, 0 divided by 7, that is 0. So when the zero's on top, it's 0. When the zero's on the bottom, it's undefined, but your calculator will tell you which is which just by you plugging that in. Okay, now if I look at this one, this is left 2 down 1, so that's -2, -1. This one is over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down 1, so that's 6, -1. Okay, now when I go to do this, I wouldn't have to rewrite these like I am. You could certainly do this on the graph, but on top, I'm subtracting my y's. So I do -1 subtract a -1, and then on the bottom, I do 6 minus a -2, okay? When I simplify the top, -1 plus 1 is 0. 2 negatives in a row become plus, so that's 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. And do you remember, if 0's on the top, what is it? Then it's 0. When 0's on the bottom, that's when it's undefined. Now, if they give you something on a graph, the test is not like this. The test is where I give you 2 points and you have to find the slope. So when they give you that, you do the slope formula. If the 0's on the top, it's 0. If the 0's on the bottom, it's undefined. But if they gave you something on a graph, if anything is a vertical line straight up and down, that's when it's undefined. If something is horizontal, that's when it's 0. So if I gave you one today that is straight up and down, you don't have to do the work, you could just put undefined. If it's horizontal, you could just put 0, okay? Now if we look at this, this is what your test is like, where I give you the 2 points and you have to find it. So again, slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're gonna subtract our y's, which is 10 minus 4 on top. And then we're gonna subtract our x's, which is 5 minus 2 on the bottom, okay? 10 minus 4 is 6. 5 minus 2 is 3. What does that reduce down to?
1 over, no, 3, oh, no, 2, wait.
You're right.
2 over 1.
2 over 1. 3 goes into each of these. 3 goes in here twice. 3 goes in there once. You can leave that as 2 over 1 or simplify it to 2. Either way is absolutely fine. But yes, each of them are divided by 3. Then we have one more like this. So again, I can think of this as x1, y1, x2, y2. And when I'm doing this, my formula is y2 minus y1 on top, x2 minus x1 on the bottom, okay? So I'm gonna subtract my y's, and I get 19 subtract a -9. What I find with kids sometimes is they write it down too fast. And like if they were doing this, they would just go 8 minus 6. But the formula says you have to take this and subtract a -6. So it'd be 8 subtract a -6. Now, 19 minus a -9 is 28. 8 minus a -6 is 14. So what happens here, 14 goes into both of those. 14 goes into 28 twice. 14 goes into 14 once. Or you could just write it as 2. Okay, everybody okay with that? Pretty much a review, right? Okay, now, this says put in your, I used to make kids, this is before, I don't know why I don't do this anymore, but I give you guys formula sheets now, and in the past I didn't. So this is all on the formula sheet that you have. So the slope formula will be there. This will say vertical lines and horizontal lines. And if you wanted to, you guys, you could do this next to it. You could write this by it. So like if you have a 0 on the bottom, it's undefined. And for this, you could write 0 divided by 7 is 0. So that's on your actual cheat sheet if you wanted to do that. Okay. Then another thing that we're gonna do today is put stuff in point slope form. Do you guys remember that form from algebra? Okay, so that's one form you can put a formula in. We're gonna do that today. And then on Monday, we're gonna put things in slope-intercept form and graph. And then we're also gonna talk about parallel and perpendicular lines on Monday. Okay, so slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Any math class you have after this, I'm guessing that's the only thing they'll show you. They won't show you point slope form, and I'll explain why. If I asked you to do a formula for a point and a slope in point slope form, it varies which point I give you. If I ask you to do it in slope-intercept form, doesn't matter which point I give you, it's still gonna give you the same answer. So that's why we prefer slope-intercept form, okay? But today we're talking point slope form, and this is what it looks like. So what's gonna happen is they're gonna tell you your slope, which in this case is 2/3, and then they're gonna tell you a point that your line goes through, okay? So here is what we're gonna do. This is my x1, this is my y1. So I'm just gonna substitute into my formula. So I'm gonna go y minus y1 is a -4 equals m is 2/3, and then it's x minus x1 is a -2. Okay? Then, two negatives in a row become positive. So when I rewrite this, I just rewrite it to make it y plus 4. And then it's going to equal 2/3 times. Two negatives become positive, so it's x plus 2. And that's how I leave this. Okay? Is that way. Now what they want us to do is graph that point and that slope. So here's how I do that. I'm going to start by plotting -2, -4. So here I'm going to go -2 down to -4. And then my slope in this one is 2/3, okay? Slope is rise over run, okay? And here's how I teach slope. If it's positive, you go up. If it's negative, you go down, okay? For the run, we always go to the right. So basically what I just said is if you have a positive slope, you're going to go up and to the right. If you have a negative slope, you're going to go down and to the right. And that would be something too, I don't know if I have that on, does anyone have their cheat sheet out? Do I have anything about any of this on your cheat sheet?
No.
Okay, so that's something, if you think that would help you, you certainly can. Oh, right here, yes. So if it's positive, go up and to the right. If it's negative, go down and to the right. Okay, so that would help you if that confuses you at all. So now we're gonna go and we're gonna plot our point, and our slope for this one, notice, is a +2/3, okay? If it's positive, we go up and to the right. So we'd go up to right 3. Okay, so from this point, I go up to right 3. Now, I'm super picky about my graphs, so I don't just want you to plot 2 points. I want you to keep going up to right 3, up to right 3, up to right 3. And then I have rulers up here that when you do your assignment today, you can borrow, okay? And then you're gonna use a ruler to draw the line, okay? So when you go to draw that, that's pretty good. All right, and I just have to, you also are going to make, I wonder if I can change this now or not. Okay, so you're gonna put arrows on the end and your line has to cover that whole graph, not just a little portion of it, the whole graph. Okay? Is everybody okay with that? All right, now last page, okay? So again, in this one, they are going to give us the slope, which is 4, and they tell us a point, -3, -5. So the first thing I do is come down here, and this is my x1, y1. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go y minus y1, which is a -5. Okay, my m is 4, and then I'm gonna go x minus, and x1 is a -3. All right. In math, when we have 2 negatives in a row, it changes to positive, and then we have 4 times x plus 3. So here is my equation. All right. Then what we're going to do is we have to graph that. So I am going to go to my graph. I'm going to plot the point -3, -5 right here. And then my slope is going to be 4. What do you think I could put that 4 over? 1, yes. Now, if your slope is positive, you go up and to the right. If your slope is negative, you go down and to the right. So if this is 4 over 1, I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1 and put a dot. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, and I'm gonna keep going until I get off the chart, okay? Then I have to draw that line, okay? So let's do that. I think I have it. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm gonna draw. That's not good. -3, -5. Okay, I might just draw the line and not worry about it. So if I go to draw that, I am going to have something that looks like this, okay? And so that's what your graph is going to look like. If you had a negative slope, your line would be going down from left to right. And here is your assignment. So you're gonna do these 4 in the book. And then there's a worksheet in Schoology that is just on slope. That should be really fast. And I have to give you a page for graph paper and a ruler. And then I just have to tell you one more thing. If one of the parts of that worksheet asks you to find two slopes, and then it says, tell me if they're parallel. For parallel lines, the slopes would have to be exactly the same. So if you found one to be 2/3 and the other one to be 2/3, then you would say they're parallel, okay? So parallel lines have the same slope. So I'll check if that is in Schoology yet. If not, I'll put it in there. One other thing, if they give you two graphed points and ask you for the slope, this is important too. Always start with the point on the left. And then look at how much do you have to go up and over to get to that second one. But always start on the left. Alright, so I will get you guys each a piece of graph paper, and then I'll make sure that worksheet is in Schoology. Was this easy? And I'll be grading homework over the weekend, so if you have anything, make sure that you put it in the